Good evening, Ram 55 here, back with another installment of European Ship Simulator. This will be my second review. This one will be of the ferry mission from Calais, France to Dover, England. Now, I had just recently done a review of this mission, and no sooner had I got it out on YouTube than the game was officially released. And in the release, they've actually changed the game graphics, at least, quite a bit, added some new missions. And I figured, well, rather than provide a review that's really a little bit out of date, I'd just go ahead and redo the mission. So here is that mission. And right off the bat, you can see our ferry sitting in the harbor at Calais. Now look at the bow of the ship, and you can see it plowing through the water. One of the new things they've added graphic-wise is a little bit of a bow wake. The water seems to be a little bit different as well, and a little bit more realistic. There's a bulk carrier going by our starboard side. Now the first thing we have to do is bring our ferry up to the dock so that we can simulate loading up passengers and cargo for our trip to Dover. So I've got the throttles ahead, medium. I don't want to be going too fast in the harbor. And from this view, you can see another thing that they've upgraded. On the back of the ship, you can see some prop wash. There's some white foamy stuff coming out the stern of the ship where the props would be. They've upgraded that simulation, and I think it looks pretty good. So overall, thumbs up. I think it has a more realistic looking wake. The waves look a little bit nicer, a little bit more realistic. Now as I zoom out, you can see a couple of small tugs that are right in the way to the dock that we have to be going to. Now we're going ahead fairly slow, so it's not a factor, but I've had to replay this mission several times because when I get to a certain point, the game has frozen on me every single time at exactly the same point. So one point of frustration when playing the simulator on this mission. So those tugs will be out of the way once we make our turn to port to bring it into that first pier there. But as I mentioned, 3 times I had to, or tried to record this video, and 3 times got about 2/3 of the way across to Dover, and it just completely froze. I had to abandon the game. The only way I could actually finish this mission was to use the jump ahead button, and I'll explain that later. Once I got to the first arrow or the first waypoint, it gives you the option of jumping ahead toward the end of the mission so you don't have to do the boring or the tedious part out in the middle of the English Channel. So that's the only way I was able to complete the mission. Now if I had come in a little bit faster, those tugs would have been a factor. They would have been in the way. So that's one thing I think the developers of this game need to maybe scrutinize, is where they place the AI ships. Sometimes they're just flat out in the way and acting in ways that are unrealistic to the real world. You know, I'm bringing a huge ferry into the dock like this. In the real world, those tugs would not be cutting in front of me, interfering with me, bringing it into the berth. So something for the developers to think about. So right now I'm just trying to get parallel to the dock there to the left. You can see the ramps on the far right of the screen. That's the ramps that the vehicles drive up to board the ferry. So I want my hull to be basically parallel to the dock. I've got just a little bit of forward motion going. And eventually, as I am now, I'm using the side thrusters, which are huge props built into the side of the ship to move the boat sideways and bring it over to the dock. So right now we've got just a little bit of headway. We're going forward just a little bit, and just a little bit of side motion as well. Now when you have a big ship like that, thrusters are invaluable for this kind of maneuvering. If you had to rely simply on your engines and the rudder to turn and bring you into the dock, yeah, you could do it, but it would be much more difficult. These thrusters make it a piece of cake. So basically, the thrusters are moving my boat sideways now. I'm judging my speed and distance away from the dock so we don't go crashing into it. Once again, I think the graphics on this game are outstanding. I like the reflections of the clouds on the water, the seagulls flying around. I think the wake has been improved tremendously, so thumbs up to the developers of the game on that. So now the stern is getting in just a little bit closer to the dock than the bow is, so a couple things I can do. I can increase the thruster on the bow or decrease the thruster on the stern so that they kind of get parallel again. So I'm going to decrease the thrust on the stern. You see the bow is pretty close to the ramp there. I don't want to hit it and damage the ship. Now here's another critique for the game. Overall, I like the game for what it is. But right now, I'm not even at the dock yet, and they're already telling me, okay, you're cleared to leave and exit the harbor on your way to Dover. Well, I'm not, in my opinion, I'm not docked yet. Now I'm to the point where, okay, yeah, I'm satisfied with that. So I wish they would give me some realistic time. You can either simulate a jump ahead, you know, fast forward kind of thing, where you simulate time to load vehicles onto your ship, and then say an hour or 2 hours simulated down the road, say, okay, now you're cleared to leave. You've got your load on board. We'll see you. Have a good trip. Here's a real quick look around the bridge. Got some awesome graphics behind the driving station, which is right here. Right in the center there, you have that horseshoe thing. That's actually the wheel of the ship. That's how you turn the rudders. To the left and right of that are the throttles for the port and starboard engines. Just in front of that little horseshoe wheel are the controls for the bow thruster and the stern thruster. And now I'm mousing over controls for the lights on the left, and over on the bottom right, the horn. Now, one thing I've noticed, it's real difficult to get your pointer on those switches for the horn and for the lights. They kind of blink on and off, and it's really hard to control. Once again, the graphics are really good. You have all these electronics in the back there. Unfortunately, none of them are operational. Not that you would really need to have them. I'm just walking out to the wing of the bridge and looking out toward the aft and toward the bow. So they could have, like I said, had a simulated jump forward time to load the trucks, the buses, the cars, the people, everybody that's getting on board before they say, okay, clear the harbor in 15 minutes. So right now it's like you tag the dock, you tag the little trigger wherever it may be, and it gives you the next part of the mission. So that's something I think they could improve on. So right now I'm using my thrusters to move myself away from the dock. Once I'm clear from the dock, I'm putting both engines in reverse. And the controls that I'm using for engine control are W and S. W for moving forward, S on the keyboard for moving aft. And that moves both engines at the same time. Now if you want, you can control the port and starboard engines separately, and that's using the keypad for the numbers. Keypad 9 and 3 controls the starboard engine, and keypad 7 and 1 controls the port engine, and keypad 5 centers everything. It centers the rudder, kills your throttle, kills your thrusters, it kills everything. With keypad 5, resets everything. So right now I'm bringing it slow astern, using the bow thruster to push me to starboard, to swing the bow around. I like the smoke coming out of the stacks there. Now, one thing you'll notice throughout this video, from this view or any other view except for almost dead astern, you get no engine noise. Something I wish they would have no matter where I am. So now you can hear the engine, and from the bow, from the stern, on the bridge, you don't really get that, that noise. So something I wish they would have, some more ambient noise. And when you're charging ahead at full steam, this ship, it's about 18 knots, a little bit over 18 knots. You don't get any bow wave noise either, and you know, you're taking this massive ship, plowing it through the water, it's creating this big wave. I think you'd hear that from different parts of the ship. So I think the ambient noise could be increased for a lot of the game. When I'm looking from the outside, it's just absolutely dead quiet. So now we've got the ship basically pointed toward the harbor exit. Again, I don't want to be going too fast inside the harbor. There's one of those nuisance tugs right in the center of the harbor again. Now I'm using the cinematic view, so the camera is stationary and it will pan as the ship moves past. Again, look at that water in the waves. Pretty outstanding. The reflections of the sunlight kind of dancing off the waves. Very realistic looking. I like that a lot. They've also toned down the reflections of the shoreline on the water too. Still too much, I think. When you have any waves at all, you don't get a real good reflection of the water. It's a little bit dispersed because of the motion of the water. So I think that needs to still be toned down a little bit. And you saw something where the clouds suddenly changed and the shade of the water, the shade of the sky suddenly changed. It wasn't a gradual process, it just suddenly jumped. So here we are leaving the port at Calais. Now I'm hitting that target button over on the far right, little icon. And that activated that green arrow that you see in the distance just past that bulk freighter. That's the next waypoint that we're going to. So I'm giving it full throttle now, and we are on our way. So here we have excellent engine noise, but once we move over to the side of the bow or up on the bridge, we virtually have no engine noise, no wind noise, no wave noise. And I'd like to have some of that. Now the only way I can really steer the ship toward that point, for me anyways, is to get behind the ship like that and then kind of line it up and then point it at that green arrow. It would be nice if I could use the radar screen to kind of steer my ship, and I'll talk about that in a second. So right now I'm back on the wing of the bridge, just watching this bulk freighter go by. Again, that bulk freighter has a nice little bow wave there, some smoke coming out the stacks. Graphics are pretty good. So big improvements from the pre-release version of the game. On the top right there, he's just notifying you if you want to skip the boring part in the middle where you're just kind of plowing across the English Channel. You can hit that little chevron icon on the bottom right, and that will allow you to jump forward to the end part of the game and just complete the interesting parts, the quote-unquote interesting parts, where you're coming into the port. Here's another ship on our starboard side as we're leaving Calais. Again, he's got big plumes of smoke coming out the stacks, and pretty darn good graphics. Look at those waves coming at you and the reflections of the sky. Really well done. Now here you get another view of a new feature of the game. The waves are actually gently and subtly rocking the ship forward and aft, right and left. Really nicely done. So thumbs up to these guys for developing that. The pre-release game did not have that feature. So as you look aft, you can see the ship kind of just gently swaying back and forth, and really nice job doing that. So here we are, that bird's eye view of our ship. Got a nice bow wave, but it's dead quiet. I'd like to have a little bit more engine wave and wind noise. Another feature I'd like to see them develop sometime in the future is you see all the clutter of the icons on the bottom right and on the bottom of the screen for my throttles and stuff like that. It'd be nice to have some way of, maybe there is, I haven't read any directions that have told me you can do this, but it'd be nice to just declutter the screen. So if I just want to admire the view, I can do that. But right now there's all those icons scattered all over. Now the radar screen on the bottom left, you can see my ship. It's a black icon underneath that green arrow. It's pointing toward the waypoint, which is that target signal on the radar screen. And then below that all is a white icon, which is representing traffic out on the water. So here we are out on the bridge as we pass that waypoint. And as you reach it, it will just suddenly disappear. You can see the worn metal feature of that corner there with the rivets holding the window in place. Again, graphics are really, really good. So here we are back on the helm position, overlooking all the controls. Now it would be nice on that radar screen, bottom left, if they added a couple features. And I'm going to give feedback to the game developers. What I would like to see them is develop some kind of a zoom indicator, because when you're by the dock and you can see the dock moving as you zoom in and out, you can tell that you have had an input to the zoom. But when you're out at sea with no traffic around you and no dock, all you see is your ship like it is right there, but you have no clue what the zoom level is. So if they had a little number somewhere and there's 19 levels of zoom, just 1 through 19, to let me know where I'm at, whether I'm full zoomed in, full zoomed out, that'd be kind of nice. Another thing that would be nice to have on the radar screen is a course line, so that I can tell if I'm left or right of course, whether I need to steer left or right to get back on course. And all ships, whether you're a casual boater, you know, out on the Great Lakes where I boat, or doing a huge ship, they use a compass. None of the ships in this game have a compass. Now here I'm using the tug button, that little chain icon on the bottom right, to show you points where you can tie onto for this ship. Another thing that would be nice for them to add is when I bring it into the berth, let me hit that icon and actually attach lines from my ship to the dock so that I am actually tied up. It'd be kind of nice to do that, to kind of give it more realism. So anyways, getting back to that radar screen, it'd be nice to have a course line so I can tell whether I'm left or right of course. A compass rose, because all ships, especially ships of this size, are steered by the compass. And then some information somewhere about my heading from one waypoint to the next so I can actually steer that on a compass. And maybe some kind of a countdown, either time to the next waypoint based on your current speed or distance to the next waypoint. That'd be kind of nice to have a feature as well. So here we are with our first crossing traffic. We're meeting one of our sister ships who has left Dover, and they are on their way to Calais. Now I'm on the right wing of the bridge, watching this ship pass. I'm giving them a blast on the horn. They're not going to respond. Now, one thing about this ferry traffic, You could see from the other traffic we saw that they had a bow wave and a stern wake and some smoke coming out of their stacks. This one has none of that, so that's something I think the developers need to fix. This ship looks like it's anchored out in the middle of the English Channel and they're out just whale watching or something. It doesn't look like it's moving through the water at all. You can see ours has smoke coming out the stacks and a wake. That ship needs to have the same, so that's something they need to fix. Two ships passing in twilight. Now the other thing, this game kind of reminds me of the early days of Microsoft Flight Simulator, where my airplane was the only airplane in the entire world. It was a completely unpopulated world except for my airplane. Now we have AI traffic, sure enough, but I feel like I am the only guy on this ship. I don't have any crew, I don't have any passengers. It would be nice if they could model on these ships, this one, the Ferry in particular, put some truck traffic, some bus traffic, some car traffic, and some passengers standing on the, in the hold. Put some passengers up on the deck looking over the railing at the other ships going by. Make it look like I'm actually doing some work, like I'm doing a job. That's one reason why I like to do simulators. I feel like I'm doing something that I couldn't really do in the real world. So put some traffic on there. Put some passengers on there. Make it look a little bit more realistic. And up on the bridge, perhaps you could model a helmsman standing at the center position on the bridge. He's operating the throttles and the tiller. And put a first officer up there, a navigator. They don't have to be moving, they can be static. Just have them up there. Make me feel like I'm the captain of this ship and I've got a crew. And behind us we've got passengers who are enjoying the amenities of our ferry. So here's another glamour shot. Sun setting over the English Channel, over the European continent. And our ship is charging through the water at 18 plus knots, bringing our paying customers to the port of Dover. Again, awesome graphics, great looking ships, great looking wake. They've really done some great improvements on this. You kind of get the impression that looking through those windows, you can just imagine all of those customers are in there having their snacks, reading their books, working on their laptops, chatting with family, eating at the restaurant, sitting at the bar, having a drink. You just imagine them having a great time as they're making this crossing. Now in the real world, this crossing takes about an hour and a half. And I can't remember the exact number, but they have something like 90 crossings a day. So these guys are really busy. And in this simulator, based on what I've seen, I think it takes about an hour and a half to do the actual mission. So they've modeled that really well as well. So here we are making a turn to starboard to get out of the way of that bulk carrier who is charging toward us. All the traffic I've seen on this is moving in the same direction or opposite direction to us, basically from Calais to Dover. The English Channel is a super highway for ships moving perpendicular to our course. They're coming from Germany, they're coming from the Netherlands, they're coming from Sweden, Norway, Russia, and from the United States in the opposite direction. They are just thousands of ships plying these waters on a daily basis. But in this simulator, we don't have any of that crossing traffic. We have opposing traffic like this moving in the opposite direction. But there should be lots of ships going 90 degree to our course. It'd be kind of nice if they would simulate that as well. We're passing the ship a little bit closer than I think we would in real life. Another thing that they improved in the game, the pre-release version, when they came up with a message like that, it stayed up. It was very irritating. It was just another piece of clutter on the screen. Now those messages disappear, so thank you for that. So now we're back up on the bridge, watching the ship go by. Now, up close and like we are here, you know, you can tell the aspect of the ship. You can tell it's heading in the opposite direction from us. It's not a big deal to figure out whether you're going to hit them or whether they're a factor. But when they're a little dot on the horizon, you really can't see them. And real ships would be putting binoculars on those guys to say, oh, hey, is that guy a factor to us? Which way is he heading? Can I see his navigation lights, etc.? It would be nice if they could model in this game a binocular view where you hit a little button and it basically will zoom in on whatever you're looking at, so that at a far distance you can zoom in on that target and say, yeah, it's pointing at me. No, it's going the same direction. I don't have to worry about it. You know, one of those cinematic movie tricks where they have the binocular view and everything else is either blurred or blacked out. It'd be kind of nice and useful up on the bridge. Now this is right about where the mission locked up on me 3 times. And guess what? For the 4th time, it happened again. It's going to happen here in a moment. I don't know if there's a glitch in the game. Is it a problem with my computer? Perhaps you guys can leave comments to say that you're having similar problems, or no, you don't have any problems. I'm charging along, everything's fine, and then just suddenly it freezes right there. Can't do anything. Can't get out of the program, can't change the view, can't rotate it. Nothing works. And the only thing I can do is exit the game and start all over again. And that's exactly what I did. Now I'm getting to that point where I can jump ahead, and that's the only way I can get across to Dover. The game freezes up on me at exactly the same point now 4 times in a row. So you guys leave messages. Tell me if you're having the same problem. So here we are over at Dover. We're approaching the harbor mouth. Again, I'd like to be able to get that big gaudy green arrow off the screen. I mean, this is a simulator, that shouldn't be there. And then use the radar screen in the bottom left or up on the bridge to do my actual navigating, to let me know if I need to steer left or right to make it to my next waypoint. Here in Michigan, we call seagulls rats with wings. They will eat just about anything. They're irritating, they're noisy, they're messy. They're pretty birds, but other than their beauty, they're kind of annoying. So anyways, here comes our quiet ship moving past us. I'm reducing throttle here to bring it under a reasonable speed as we enter the harbor. Again, when you get inside of a harbor, other traffic hates it when you're throwing up a big wave from your speed. So you want to be going fast enough where you have steerage way. In other words, you can still turn the ship, but not so fast that you're creating a hazard to the other small craft that may be in the harbor. So once we play tag with that green arrow and pass it, you'll see where our next waypoint is. Now, having done the simulator and this mission a couple times, I know exactly where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do. The first time, it's like, okay, now that I'm here, where do I go? It would be kind of nice to have a few more details, maybe verbal instructions or written instructions, you know, kind of showing where I'm going to go once I get to the harbor. It says go to here, go to there. Well, I don't know where that is until I use that green arrow to figure out where it is. If you go to the radar screen, it will show up as a waypoint there as well. Another thing I'd like to see the developers do, those messages that come across on the top that tell me, okay, have a great day, you're cleared into the harbor, go to the berth. rather than just have it be a simple text, have it a simulated radio message from the harbor control or from other ships. You know, have a voice come over and tell me where to go, as if it was somebody contacting me on the radio like they would in real life. Then I would have the option of clicking on or off the text, but I think that would be a little bit more immersive if it was a voice instead of a message like that. So here we are coming through the channel on the way to our dock to unload the passengers from France and pick up some passengers from England and turn around and do it all over again. Again, just enough forward motion to keep the throttles or the rudder effective, to give me steerage. Another thing that I would like to see is the only way to kill the throttle, kill the rudder, kill the thrusters is with the keypad 5 button, and it does all of them at the same time, whether you want to do all of them or not. It would be nice if there was a separate button to center my throttle, to center my rudder, to center my thrusters without affecting the other controls. That'd be a nice thing for them to develop. You can see also from this view outside, I can tell you how far left or right my rudder is. When I'm on the bridge or at the helm position, that information's missing. I have no idea where my throttle is, where my rudders are, and that's valuable information when you're steering from the bridge. You can look at the controls and kind of estimate whether you're left or right, but if they're not dead center, you really can't tell from looking at those controls. So having those little icons down at the bottom, you can see the green, yellow, and blue indicators down the bottom for speed, fuel, and I think the condition of the ship. You could put some little icons down there to tell me my rudder position and my throttle positions when I'm up on the bridge. Wouldn't be an obtrusive kind of thing, but give me some valuable information so I can control from a realistic position. So now my plan is to bring the ship in dead slow now, bring it up so that the bow is about equal with the ramp over there in the distance, just to the left of the bow of my ship. Once we get there, I'll kill my throttles, and then I'll use differential thrusters. I'll put the bow thrusting to port and the stern thrusting to starboard and spin the ship around. Again, those thrusters are invaluable for tight maneuvering like this. So the ship's basically almost dead in the water now. Bringing it in just very slowly. You can imagine the passengers are being alerted that we're almost at port. Gather your belongings, get ready to head toward your vehicles, and get ready to disembark the ship. These things load and unload unbelievably fast, and they keep a fairly tight schedule. So now I've got the thrusters in opposite directions. The bow thruster is thrusting the nose to port. The stern thruster is thrusting the stern to starboard, and basically that pivots the entire ship right around its middle. And the reason I'm doing this, when we were in Calais, we came in bow first. The vehicles loaded the ship from the bow, filled up the ship, pointing toward the stern. And now that we have reached our destination in Dover, they don't have the room on the inside of the ship to turn around and head out the same direction they came in. So they need to leave off the stern. So I'm going to spin the boat around and dock it stern first so they can drive off without having to turn their vehicles around on the ship, which they couldn't possibly do. So bow first at Calais, stern first at Dover. And if you go to YouTube, you'll see that's the way they actually do it. You can see the ferry action between Calais and Dover and how quickly those guys can get all these maneuvers done. Now I'm being pretty conservative. You know, this is a huge ship, a couple 100 feet long, 300 feet long. I'm not really sure how big it is. Many, many, many tons. It's got a lot of weight, a lot of momentum. You can do some serious damage to the dock, to your ship, and to your passengers and cargo by getting in too fast and out of control. So I'm bringing it in rather conservative, probably more conservative than they do in real life. One thing I haven't got the practice on this ship, I overshot my rotation. You can see the bow is further away from the dock than the stern is. So I needed to kill those thrusters a little bit earlier. So now I'm thrusting the bow to starboard so it'll catch up with the stern. Once it's parallel to the dock, then we'll just move it sideways like we did before, tie it up and get the passengers off, new passengers on, and off we'll go for our return crossing. Again, you can hear those thruster motors when you're up close, but from a distance you don't get any of that noise. So a little bit more ambient noise, please. I'd appreciate it. Look at the radar masts rotating there on the top of the ship. The lighting is great. The hull model looks great. Just a fantastic job with the graphics on this. So now the bow's caught up to the stern. Time we start moving them both closer toward that ramp to the top left of the screen there. Now some ferries, I'm not sure about this, they actually load 2 levels at a time. So that's why those ramps have 2 levels. You can load 2 levels at the same time on the ship just to expedite the loading process and unloading process in this case. Now that it's a little bit later in the evening, the wind has died down, the water's a little bit calmer. Beautiful evening here in Dover. Now, since they went live with the game, it was officially released. A lot more missions and a couple more ships were introduced, so I'm looking forward to bringing those to you. So now we don't want to come charging in there with so much momentum that we swing into the dock and damage ourselves. So you want to bring this in fairly carefully. You can see those 3 lights on the bow of the ship there. Those, I think, are actually the high-priced ticket areas, you know, for guest lounges. Pretty high price. Just above that is the bridge, and to the right and left of that are the wings, and the wings are where they actually steer the ship from as they're bringing it into port. They can actually look out that wing and look down the side of the ship and see everything. So here we have a successful mission. I wish they would let me bring it all the way into the dock and tie it up. I've already mentioned that. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like, and please leave comments so I can make better videos. Tell me what you want to see, what I can do better. And I'll be back with my next mission pretty soon. So hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you out on the water, and thanks for watching.